Children of the Sunflower, Part 4, The True Path. After another spin, Hanako was sure there was no way she would be able to find the boy in that rain. Cyndaquil looked miserable standing in the downpour, and so Hanako called him back to his ball and decided to send out the Bellsprout she had recently caught. She figured the grass Pokemon might enjoy the water. It did. The Bellsprout twirled and frolicked in the stormy weather.
All right, Leafage, come on. We should get going.
Pausing, the Bellsprout looked up at Hanako with suspicion, as if it wondered if it really needed to obey.
The professor's expecting this egg,
Hanako pleaded.
We need to get it to him.
Leafage tilted its head to one side, studying the girl. Staring back at her grass Pokemon, Hanako was nervous about the glint in its eyes. Hanako wanted to head back west, taking a shortcut, but the Bellsprout slowly turned its head toward the north, keeping a wary eye on its trainer.
Don't you dare.
Leafage did dare, and broke out into a run. It wore an expression of maniac glee as it vanished into the nearby foliage. Hanako took off into the woods after the Bellsprout, trying to call it back into its Pokeball. As Hanako crashed into the trees, she found they provided some shelter for the downpour.
Leafage, this isn't funny. Get back here,
Hanako shouted out after the Bellsprout.
Can you even hear me? We need to get back to New Bark.
Hanako slipped and barely managed to stay standing by grabbing hold of some branches. The Bellsprout glanced back, wondering what the commotion was.
Please stop running.
Leafage shook its head back and forth and then darted away again, continuing its northern direction. The chase started getting more difficult as the ground seemed to start sloping up into a nearby climb.
Please stop. I really wish I knew what you were up to, or where you think you're going.
Suddenly, Hanako was chasing the Bellsprout across barren, rocky ground where the Pokemon crashed into a rocky cliffside. Leafage wobbled on its spindly root legs and nearly tipped right off the edge of a cliff. Hanako reacted on instinct and caught the Pokemon before it could drop. That's when she saw just how high the two of them were from the ground below. She felt dizzy and started to sway, and she nearly toppled over the edge herself when something grabbed her. She was yanked back away from the edge and landed hard on the ground, and quickly scrambled back away from the edge. Hanako shook her head, trying to clear it from the sense of vertigo that had hit her. Her hand absently patted Leafage as if trying to calm it down when it was really her heart that was racing. That's when she noticed there was a woman standing between her and the edge. The woman placed her hand on her hips. A mix of confusion and exasperation was apparent on the woman's face.
What are you even doing up here?
I was trying to catch my Bellsprout. It just ran off. I have no idea why it came up here.
Well, you really shouldn't be here. Not only could you have fallen, but there are some dangerous Pokemon around.
Almost as if that had been a cue, a pink Pokemon flew by and hovered next to the woman's shoulder. Hanako eyed it warily after the warning she had just been given. Then it dawned on the girl that she had seen that Pokemon and the woman before.
Wait, weren't you the one who ran off a couple days ago?
Hanako asked. The woman didn't say anything. She looked lost in thought, almost as if she were trying to work out a complicated math equation. At one point, she opened her mouth as if she was going to answer, and then froze for a moment before shutting it again. Looking out beyond the cliff, as if the answer were lingering out in the distance, the woman sighed. She turned back to the pink Pokemon beside her, and, after a while of staring at one another, she finally spoke.
It is all so confusing.
Hanako got to her feet and started dusting herself off.
What? What is so confusing?
Before the woman could expound, the pink Pokemon suddenly turned around and stared off into the woods to the east. It was acting as if it had heard something, but there hadn't been any sound that Hanako had detected. Hanako followed the Pokemon's gaze and tried to see into the rain-obscured woods, but there was nothing that stood out. The woman also looked and nodded as if she seemed to understand whatever was going on. Then the woman looked back over at Hanako.
Somehow, things have been changed. I tried to fix one thing, and it all went sideways.
Hanako ran a hand down her face, lost by the woman's lack of clarity.
You're really not making any sense.
That's because none of it makes sense.
What doesn't?
Any of it. The storm. The colors. You being here.
Hanako knew the storm had been odd, the way it seemed to stop randomly. She had no idea what the woman meant by the colors. But as far as Hanako being there, hadn't she already explained that?
I told you. I just followed Bellsprout running up that hill in the woods.
The woman looked back at Hanako, and she looked really confused by the girl's statement. Then she shook her head.
No, not you being here. I meant you being here.
The woman spread her arms as if to indicate a larger area. It didn't do anything to clear it up for Hanako.
Of course I'm here. Leafage led me here.
She copied the woman's gesture as she was in that whole area because of the runaway Pokemon.
I know, but that wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to happen. What I'm trying to say, Hanako, is that you aren't even supposed to exist.
What's your fault?
Haruto asked the woman who had approached him.
All of this?
The woman spread her arms to gesture at what the boy could only assume was all the emptiness around them. Turning around, Haruto grew disoriented again and almost toppled until he could see the woman and her green Pokemon again.
And what is this?
It isn't.
Haruto ran a hand across his hair, exasperated.
It isn't what?
Anything. It's nothing.
I can see that.
As soon as the words were out of his mouth, Haruto wondered to himself if that was even an accurate statement.
Can you see something that isn't there?
Unsure he wanted to hear the answer, Haruto asked another question.
Where did everything go? Where's Mr. Pokemon's house? Or the woods? Or anything at all?
The woman looked hesitant to answer.
I think it's still there. Just not for you. Not anymore.
If it was still there, then we should see it. Shouldn't we?
I don't really know.
The woman said.
I've never done this before.
Done what?
Gone back and tried to change things.
Haruto was getting frustrated. Trying to get answers from the woman felt like taking tiny baby steps, one slow movement at a time.
Gone back where? Change what?
Sorry, this is all new to me.
The woman answered.
I was trying to fix a mistake in my past, and it seemed to change more than I expected, so I'm trying to correct it.
The boy stared at the woman, not sure if he was understanding her right.
Are you saying you are from the future?
No, not at all.
That caused Haruto to breathe a sigh of relief. He wasn't sure if he could handle finding out time travel was possible right at that moment.
I mean,
the woman continued.
I guess. I kind of am. I've been there, but I'm not really from there.
Haruto groaned as the relief he had felt just moments before evaporated. Apparently the woman had traveled through time, and, it seemed, more than once.
How? How did you go to the future and back again?
The woman hesitated, and Haruto noticed her eyes flick over toward the green Pokemon momentarily.
I'd rather not...
It was that Pokemon?
Sighing, the woman nodded.
Yes.
Seriously? I mean, I've heard of Pokemon changing the weather, but changing time?
Haruto noticed the woman step back and her body tense up. Her eyes narrowed and a hand reached behind her back. When the woman spoke again, there was an edge to her voice.
I don't think Epoch changes time. It just provided me the means to do so.
The boy stared in amazement at the green Pokemon. He couldn't believe that a Pokemon had a power like that. He couldn't really think of any reason he would have to do so, but it was an interesting idea. The woman started to move around Haruto's right, which would eventually place him between her and the Pokemon. He turned toward her and saw a determined expression, and it finally clicked that she was about to attack him.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Haruto cried out. He threw his hands in the air and quickly backed up away from both the woman and the Pokemon.
What did I do?
Nothing yet,
the woman replied as she made her circle larger to still try and get around the boy.
Yet?
Haruto tried to process the meaning of that in light of the revelation that the woman had been to the future.
What am I going to do?
That caused the woman to stop.
What?
She shook her head as she realized what Haruto meant.
No, I didn't mean you were going to. It's just that you seem very interested in Epoch.
Of course I am. It has an ability that I've never heard of.
He looked at the Pokemon and then back at the woman. Then it clicked what she must have been thinking.
Wait, no. I don't want to take it.
The woman continued to watch Haruto suspiciously for a minute. She must have decided that maybe he was just innocently interested as she relaxed a little, though she still had one hand behind her resting on a Pokeball.
Okay, so you changed something in your past, you said.
Haruto asked, trying to put the pieces together.
And now that's changed something, which brought us here? Is this just the world, time, adjusting to these changes?
Sort of.
The woman said.
I'm worried that I might have erased you.
So,
Hanako said, trying to understand what the woman was saying.
you erased me? And yet, you didn't erase me?
Sort of.
The woman said.
I think there is a path you were supposed to be on, and my being here has caused you to wander off it. If you keep going, I think you might find everything suddenly missing. That's what happened, will happen, is happening to the other you.
Other me?
Yes, I think my meddling with time created a different version of you, and that you went off course too, thanks to Era and me.
The woman explained, gesturing to the pink Pokemon beside her.
And since I've wandered off course, it is like somehow going beyond the borders of a video game?
Haruto asked.
Like nothing is programmed to be there because no one is supposed to be there. It isn't part of the game.
I'm not really familiar with things like that. That sounds right, though.
How do we fix it then?
My theory is that we just need to get you back on the path you're supposed to be on.
But you said there are two of me? How can we both be on the same path?
There aren't supposed to be two of you. But if you both are where you're supposed to be, then I think it will all come back together and you will just be one again.
Then I guess the question is, where am I supposed to be?
Where were you going before you met me?
Haruto had to think about that for a minute. The sudden vanishing of everything and the bizarre conversation with the woman had driven most of his previous plans far from his mind.
Well, I was trying to get a look in the woods behind Mr. Pokemon's house, and that's when everything went away. But I don't see how that has anything to do with you. But I seem to be off the path before you got here.
The woman frowned in thought.
But we met before, right?
Oh, yeah, but there's cliffs.
Okay, so where were you headed before that?
Oh, Mr. Pokemon's house. But I made it there. So wasn't I already back on the path?
That does seem to be the case.
The woman tapped her chin, trying to figure out how that interaction could have changed Haruto's direction.
Why don't you run through what happened at Mr. Pokemon's house?
Well, I had it here because Professor Elm sent me. I got the egg, like he asked, and left.
And that's it? Were you headed straight back to your professor's home after that?
No. I was looking for your Pokemon. I saw him in the woods before I went in, and I was wondering if he was still out there.
So that's it. Our interaction and Epoch's reappearance caused you to stray.
The woman clapped her hands together.
And let's get you back on the way to your professor. Where were you going before you met me?
I told you. I was chasing my rebellious Bellsprout, and so we ended up here. Then you showed up with your confusing story about time travel and changing the future.
The past.
Whatever.
Hanako threw her hands in the air, exasperated.
So, I don't think any of this has to do with you.
But it does. Don't you understand? You only exist because of something I changed. Somehow.
Yeah, I don't buy any of that. I remember growing up. I remember being excited to go on my own journey as a Pokemon trainer. I remember finally getting to Professor Elm's and choosing Cyndaquil. I didn't just pop out of nowhere.
I didn't say you popped out of nowhere. I'm saying something changed to make all that happen. The other you was the one who did those things before.
If me and other me are the same person and did the same things, then what makes you think there are two of me?
Because you're not exactly the same. The original you is...
No, forget it. I think you were hit by a Pokemon's Confuse Ray or something. None of this makes any sense. My life is not a scripted series of events. I get to choose where I go.
The woman was taken aback by Hanako's resistance to what she was telling the girl.
Hanako, I am not your enemy. I'm just trying to fix what I've broken. I'm not asking you to do anything you probably weren't already planning.
She gestured toward the egg in its incubator.
I assume you are trying to deliver that back to your professor, right?
Hanako eyed the woman suspiciously.
Maybe.
So why don't you just do that? It was a path you had already chosen. I am certain that from there, you will then make the choices you were going to make already, which sets you back on the path.
Shaking her head, Hanako said,
I might have planned to go that way, but then my path changed to chase leafage, which clearly had nothing to do with you. So maybe this is the path I'm supposed to be on.
Except that isn't right. You should be following the same route as the other you.
The same path as who now?
The other...
Don't say the other you. You started saying a name and it wasn't mine.
It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you head back to Professor Elm's lab. And you need to do it now.
Too bad.
The woman snatched Hanako's wrist and yanked her closer to the tree line.
We don't have time. Let's go.
Hanako dug her heels into the ground, trying to fight the woman's pull. The rain made the ground soft and slick, which hindered Hanako's efforts to anchor herself. Fortunately, the rain also made it hard for the woman to maintain a grip on the girl, and Hanako could feel herself slowly slipping free.
Stop fighting this. You need to go back to New Bark.
A flash of light streaked downward towards the cliffs, and with it came an explosion of sound and rock. Hanako felt the ground leave her feet, and she thought she was either falling or flying. She slammed down onto a rocky surface, bounced off it, and crumpled to the ground. She groaned in pain as she tried to sit up, the sky still pelting her with cold raindrops.
What happened?
She managed to push herself up into a sitting position, but still had to keep one arm on the ground to support her. The terrain around looked similar to the cliffs where she had been, but now there was a mountainous path that led to the north. Something made a sort of whimper nearby, and Hanako tried to find it through the rain. It wasn't until she saw a lump of mud start to rise that she had located the poor creature. As it started to crawl, the rain began washing some of the mud away, relieving Leafage, her bellsprout. Reaching for the Pokeball, Hanako found it was missing, and she had probably lost it after the explosion tossed her through the air. Fortunately, the girl still had one left, and she decided to try and catch Leafage again. The Pokemon was in no shape to fight and was sealed into the ball quickly.
Looks like I'll need to get some more.
Slowly, Hanako got to her feet, wincing at the pain that shot through her body. She wasn't sure where she had ended up, but she knew that New Bark should be somewhere south of her. So, to avoid the woman that seemed determined to force the ideas of fate upon Hanako, the pink-haired girl trudged northward. Haruto followed the woman through the emptiness, and slowly the world started to return. Once the boy was back in front of Mr. Pokemon's house, everything seemed to be exactly where it was supposed to be.
That was crazy.
The woman nodded.
It certainly is a peculiar phenomenon.
Thanks for leading me out of it, miss.
Smiling, the woman gestured to the green Pokemon.
You really should thank Epoch here. Without the guidance of this Pokemon, we'd all be lost.
What kind of Pokemon is that anyway?
Asked Haruto.
I'm not really sure. I've only ever run into the one. It's either a new species or something very rare.
The woman looked at Epoch, pondering what it could be while she patted its head.
You should get going though, Haruto. You need to catch up to your path.
The boy nodded.
Right. Okay. Maybe I'll see you again.
Not saying anything more, the woman simply waved goodbye to the boy as she ran off. With the weather as nice as it was, travel was easy enough, and it did not take him long to reach the Pokemon Center in Cherry Grove. After resting up for the evening, he then returned to New Bark Town, utilizing some shortcuts along the route, and delivered the egg to Professor Elm, as was expected of him. After speaking with the professor, Haruto went home to visit his mom for the rest of the day, before heading out in the morning to finally work his way toward his first gym battle. As he traveled the routes, he battled trainers, caught some more Pokemon, and made some friends. Every so often, he wondered if the woman with the green Pokemon had been real, or if he had dreamt it. And if it had been real, had her plan worked? Had he merged with his other self? He thought he would have felt something if he had, but had he felt anything when his other self was created? Whether dream or reality, corrected timeline or not, He found his way to Violet City without any more troubling emptiness or peculiar weather. Life was normal, and he was free to become the best trainer like no one ever was. As for Hanako, well, her story took a different turn. She wound up lost in the western mountains of Johto, and eventually she found herself wandering the tunnels of Mount Moon into the Kanto region. Yet, despite never returning to the correct path, Hanako never experienced the emptiness that Haruto did. Why? What is so special about Hanako, and how come she exists in Violet's world and not in Haruto's? Perhaps that is a story for another time. The end.